Good evening, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to Moyo Talks this evening, coming to you from Cape Town, South Africa, and our guest this evening from Durban, South Africa. My name is Mark Bind, and it is my great pleasure to welcome everybody to our event this evening. If I can just make a few announcements before we start, you are welcome to post questions to our speaker this evening. And you will find a Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen on most computers, and on some phones, you'll find that Q&A tab at the top of your screen. So if you have any questions for Mala, click on the Q&A tab and you can type those questions into the field there, and we'll put those questions to Mala at the end of the evening after a presentation. And you're also welcome to participate by using the chat function. You'll see the chat function again at the bottom of your screen or at the top of your screen on some phones. And you'll be able to share with us your thoughts, opinions, how you're feeling, what you're thinking about what Mala is saying. And you can see there, I've just posted something into the chat tab for you to see how that works. And with that aside, I just am left to invite you to take 3 deep breaths. And as you take 3 deep breaths, just let go of all your worries and concerns from the day. Let go of all your stresses and strains. And just bring yourself consciously into the space. We might be meeting virtually over the internet, but we still feel the energy of everybody gathered here this evening. So just take a moment to let go of all your concerns and bring yourself consciously into the space. Great, I see some people taking to the chat box already. Hello, Petra, and hello, Mohammed. Why don't you guys let us know where you are tuning in from? It's always interesting to see where everybody is, where you are in the world. So put that in the chat box. Thanks, Petra. And with that, let me tell you a little bit about our speaker this evening. Mala Naidoo is a biomedical research scientist with an honors degree in biochemistry and a cum laude master's degree in chemical pathology from the Nelson Mandela School of Medicine at the University of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. She's also an internationally qualified resonance repatterning practitioner, and she has spent the last 20 years researching and studying the impact of quantum physics on the human body and the mind. Mala Naidoo is the author of A Flaming Challenge, and this is a self-help book that challenges our views and beliefs about stress and incurable diseases, including autoimmune conditions. Mala has done what medical science calls insurmountable. Diagnosed with 4 incurable conditions, she has transitioned from the wheelchair and almost bedridden to the dance floor. She's walking, driving, and thriving once again. Now, the Moyo platform hosts speakers on a range of topics, mostly to do with healing, personal development, and spiritual growth. And so you'll see that Mala Naidoo's presentation this evening is perfectly suited to our audience. So Mala, if you can unmute yourself and start your video. And a very, very warm welcome to the Moyo platform this evening. I'm really looking forward to hearing your talk. I've been excited about this since we first touched base a few months ago. So Mala, over to you.
Thanks, Mark. Can everybody see me clearly?
Yeah, all clear.
All clear. Excellent. I want to start by saying a very, very big thank you to everybody and to you, Mark, and to Moyo Talks for hosting me this evening. I want to say a special thank you to my friends and family who have been on this journey with me. And today in the room, I have my technical support team with me. I've got my husband, Mala Naidoo, who's also a pharmacist, and my son, Shane. So if you hear some giggles and laughter, you know where it's coming from. So let's have some fun this evening. You know, it's quite interesting for me to speak without an audience because I cannot see you, but I know you there listening to me. So I invite you now. I know Mark said, let's breathe, but now I want to do it with you. So I invite you to just focus on your breathing for a few minutes. So you can sit up straight. I invite you to close your eyes and just become aware of your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Notice the pause at the out breath and the pause before the in breath. Just breathe in and out through the nose. And I invite you all to smile. Nice big smile. You made it, you're here. Thank you so much. When you're ready, you may open your eyes. I'm sure some of you are all cuddled up in bed, all nice and warm, especially if you're in South Africa. It's rather chilly out here. And yeah, let's begin. I'm so excited to do this together. Now, with the Flaming Challenge, you know, the reason I was invited to do this is that I went on a journey where medical science said things are impossible, and I was able to free myself of symptoms that were meant to be there forever. And my journey has been described in my book, A Flaming Challenge. And the question is, does this take charge formula work? And today is all about looking at the philosophy and the thinking that I put into this Take Charge Wellness formula. So according to medical science, and from my MRI scans, from my blood tests, from my last visit in the hospital, I was told that there was no way I'd be able to walk again. I should be looking like this picture in front of you. Zero functionality. Because the lesions in my brain, it wasn't possible. The medical science couldn't see me walking again. But you know what they say? It always seems impossible until it is done. Now let's take this back to you. Mark, I'm really interested in finding out how many of our listeners right here either have a chronic disease or know somebody in their family that is suffering with a chronic disease. I invite you to just tell us right now, if you are facing such a condition. Chronic disease and stress has become a silent killer in our world. You know, it's become an epidemic. Hypertension, coronary heart disease, diabetes, asthma, autoimmune disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, depression, the list goes on and on. It is said right now from the statisticians that global pharma will hit $1.5 trillion in 2003. That's in 3 years' time. Ladies and gents, something's not right. You know, are we medicating ourselves and becoming comfortable with our misery? This talk is for patients who are taking the medication and are still battling with the symptoms. You know, for those of you who are managing to have quality of life with your medication, that's fantastic. But there are millions out there that are taking the meds and are still battling with these symptoms. And let's see how we can move from here. In no way are we encouraging you to stop your medication. Be very clear there. What we are doing, we are encouraging you to see how you can help the body to start the healing from the inside. Now, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with not one, but 4 incurable diseases. And I didn't just have a second opinion. I had 5 specialist physicians examine me, and they all came up with the same conclusion. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and this is a demyelination of the myelin sheet in the brain. It's a condition where the immune system attacks the myelin sheet covering the nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. And depending where the lesions happen, the patient loses functionality. I was also diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and this is intense inflammation of the joints. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and this is inflammation of the thyroid gland. And then a further diagnosis of fibromyalgia, this is inflammation of the muscular tissue. Ladies and gents, all of these, there was no cure, and medical science has no idea what causes it. Now, I make no apologies for how busy the slide is, ladies and gents. That's how I looked. I was riddled with symptoms. With multiple sclerosis, the symptoms go on and on. Now, very important, today's discussion, I am not going to cover the symptoms that I've been through. What I'm going to go through is looking at the philosophy of healing the human body when medical science says we have an incurable condition. For me, having the RA symptoms, all these MS symptoms, all these symptoms of Hashimoto's, fibromyalgia, I was left with a handful of medication 3 times a day. Meds were just thrown at me for all these symptoms. And ladies and gents, nothing worked. Mark, I see the
You need
slides
to.
are not showing. What's happening?
Okay, do your screen share again.
Okay.
Click the share screen button again.
All right, let me get there. Okay, I'm on share screen.
There we go.
Okay. That's where my slide is. Okay, can you see that, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a slide I was referring to that refers to all the different conditions that I've been diagnosed with. As you can see on this slide, it is riddled with symptoms, exactly how my body was. So I just want to, are you seeing the slides? Good. So just to give you an idea of how ill I was first diagnosed with relapsing rheumatoid MS, and there the patient has a space of almost recovery where they are symptom free. And then in my case, it progressed to secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, and there is no remission more. So my body was riddled with these symptoms, and I'm going to go through a few of these. And these symptoms were there for not just a day, it went on to weeks and then into months. Just to mention a few, the headaches. The headaches felt, I mean, these are symptoms that I'm sure most of you have had, you know, but in my case, the headaches felt like rocks were being pounded at my head. With the tingling going on throughout my body, I felt like my scalp was being torn out, you know, and the headaches were worse at night. I had tingling from the top of my head to my toes. I was just riddled with a sensation of prickling and pins and needles. I had what's called the MS hug, which is a crushing pain around my ribs. Limit sign is shooting pain down my spine. Whenever I bend my head, I had this pain, this burst of pain that went down me. The numbness and tingling, there was loss of balance, vertigo, constant nausea and vomiting. Traveling was impossible. I had to stop the car, you know, to settle down. The extreme fatigue and exhaustion was there all the time. Difficulty swallowing, brain fog, weakness in the legs, numbness, bumping into walls. And that was just page 1. My eye went blurry. This is called, in MS, the optic nerve gets infected. It's ended up with optic neuritis. This is very scary in MS, because the patient could lose the eye. There was tingling and burning of my tongue. It felt like, you know, I had a hot drink, and that burning sensation just never went away. When I got back, when I used to have the relapse, I was admitted to hospital immediately, and the doctors would give me a dose of Solumedrol. This is a very high dose of prednisone. It's like 1,000 milligrams taken for 5 days. That the whole intention is to get to shut the immune system down, to stop the attack. The side effects of that was unbelievable. One of them was tremendous bleeding gums, wound face. I had tremors. My head used to shake. With the MS, it was difficulty urinating. I had inflamed joints from the RA. There was just widespread pain throughout my body. Ladies and gents, for 18 months, I was mostly bedridden. I couldn't do much at all. My symptoms were worse than the heat. They were uncontrollable mood swings. I felt like these 4 conditions have robbed me of my ability to be a mother, to be a wife. It took away my independence. I couldn't drive. I couldn't move. I could barely brush my own teeth. The depression set in. It set in through a door I never knew I left open, because I'm generally quite positive about life. And I found the mood swings were coming in. I became hostile. I became bitter. I became angry around my family. I started having suicidal thoughts. And Mark, ladies and gents, I had to live like this. I was told that there's nothing one can do. The docs were working hard, trying to, help me come up, find a solution, and just nothing was working in my case. What made it even more difficult is that lots of these symptoms are invisible. So lots of the patients watching right now, those that have chronic conditions will agree with me when, the diabetics, the hypertensive, those with asthma, we go out there, they sit in the boardroom, they sit in, they're at work, and they're trying so hard to function. And the fatigue is sitting in, difficulty seeing, difficulty urinating, the constipation, diarrhea, the feeling inside of them. People cannot see it on the outside. And they are patients with chronic disease that have to go through all of this. When it comes to autoimmune disease, these symptoms are a lot more that are hidden from the people around us. I must say, if somebody is not living with me in my house, that doesn't go to just watch me in the evenings, the pain I go through, it is so hard for my friends and family to believe that I can actually be so ill.
Mala, your slides are a bit unclear. I'm wondering if you can just stop share and then click the share screen again and just click that button to optimize the screen share, just so that we can try and get those slides a bit clearer.
Okay, I've got screen share checked. Is it better?
That's not much better.
What else would you like me to do?
I'm not sure what's causing the slides to be unclear, really.
It's very clear on my screen. Let's start the whole thing again. Should I share and unshare again?
Yeah, and just make sure you click that button to optimize the screen for video, and then we'll just have to deal with it.
Okay, so I stop sharing. We good now?
It seems to be a little bit better. It's still a bit unclear. I think we're just going to have to live with it, I'm afraid.
Okay, we got to slot these slides in then.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we're coming back to fatigue. Fatigue is something that patients with autoimmune disease really, really battle with. And from my research, I've found that people with chronic disease, it doesn't matter what chronic disease you're going through, fatigue is a hidden symptom. It's a silent symptom. People don't see it, but we feel it on the inside of us. For me, the fatigue felt like, my get up and go got up and left. I could do nothing. I was flattened. You know, there was holding up my head was even too difficult. So ladies and gents, what is happening here? You know, these 4 conditions, I had some of the top specialists in our country working with me. What was happening? Why couldn't they find a way to help me? You know, I was in and out of the hospital so many times. At one stage, when my neurologist told me, Mrs. Naidoo, we cannot give you any more Solumedrol. Your body cannot handle anymore. But I was still so riddled with symptoms. Now, from my research, going back to when did MS first enter the medical textbooks? And I was quite surprised to find out that it happened in 1868 with the French neurologist, Dr. Jean-Martin Charcot. And so, ladies and gents, 152 years ago, MS entered the medical textbooks, and we still have no idea what causes the disease and no idea how to take it away. So I realized that I need to get up and do something about it, because lying there in bed in fetal position, tears rolling down, nothing was going to change it unless I did something about it. My journey is documented in the book, A Flaming Challenge. And this is a pic of us working on the book. Just writing the book was incredibly cathartic for me. And you will see there is so much from what I'm sharing today that you will add on from enjoying this book. And to see that this formula really worked last year, I launched the book in May, and I must have done about 15 book launches around our country during Women's Month. In August, I had about 25 different events. And in October, I flew to Istanbul. We presented the book at the MS Society there. That very night, I watched a soccer game, Real Madrid versus Galatasaray. The next morning, I flew to Dubai, and I stayed. So let's come back to it. Why is the body not healing? What have the experts missed for 152 years? So I started to look at the human body. You know, how does the pharmaceutical society look at it? You know, how is our doctors, how are the specialists looking at the human body? Now, when conventional medicine studies the human body, they look at the skeletal system, they look at our muscular system, they look at the components, our oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, everything that makes up that they can see. And all this is the work that is covered by our pharmaceutical model and medical science is brilliant when it comes to emergency medicine. And all the studying is done from a cadaver. That's how this information is picked up, it is practiced, and then they work on the patients themselves. Now, this emergency medicine is saving the world when the injury happens on the outside. If you meet with an accident, you know, you have an injury, a sport injury, and you are rushed to the emergency room, you know there's a very good chance you're going to be fixed up. But ladies and gents, when the injury happens on the inside, emergency medicine cannot take that away. It can help us to reduce it a bit, but we are asking for way too much when the injury starts on the inside. So I started looking at scientists in our field and looked at the way, you know, what are they saying about the healing? If we look at Hippocrates said, Hippocrates is the father of modern medicine. And he said, you know, let food be thy medicine and let medicine be thy food. Albert Einstein said the same level that caused the problem cannot solve the problem. You know, Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Now, these are all very respected scientists in our world. And I started looking at what they were saying with different eyes. and they painted this picture for me. You see, ladies and gents, the human body is far more than just skin and bones and, our skeletal system, blood moving around. The human body is sound. The human body is made up of a vibration of sound frequency. Pythagoras said 2,500 years ago that everything in the universe is in a state of vibration. Every flower, every rock, every cell in the human body has its own vibration, its own sound, and its own color. Today, modern physics, like the string theory, is also proving that everything in the universe is made up of sound vibrations. The human body is also made up of color. How do we know this? Today, there are cameras that can photograph this color around us. It is called Kirlian photography. The human body is energy. We are vibration. There is frequency in us. The human body is electric. Every cell in the human body has its own electrical vibration. We can actually measure this current. The human cell has been measured to have a voltage of 0.07. And you might say, Mala, this is very small considering an AA battery has a voltage of 1.5. Now, listen to this. We have between 50 to 60 trillion cells in the human body. So I invite you to multiply that 0.07 volts to 50 trillion and then have a look at that figure. So how is all that electrical energy being balanced in this human body? Our creator put in us what is called a step-down transformer. He did this with our chakras. So each chakra is a step-down transformer in the human body. The fact that the human cell is electrical in nature, it will produce a magnetic field. So the human body is magnetic as well. The human body is made up of love, joy, vibration, consciousness. There's divine intelligence flowing through every cell of our body. According to Chinese medicine, there are 12 meridians sitting within the human body that's carrying energy, carrying a vibration. This is how we look. This is the electrical current around us. Now, ladies and gents, this cannot be put into a capsule. The pharmaceutical industry cannot harvest this and put it into a capsule for us. So if we are looking towards the pharmaceutical industry to help us in this field, we are knocking on the wrong door. This is something only we can do from the inside. And let me give you some idea of why this is possible. So I looked at that and I said, okay, what would happen if we could tap into the pharmacy within the body? Using the sound, color, light, movement, breathing, knowing we are energy, knowing we are love. Is this something I could do for myself? Lying in fetal position on my bed, is there something I could do that could release all the happy chemicals within our body? So why would this be possible? Why is it that how is it I could have an influence on my body? Now, I remember studying this. It's called the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. So those of you in the medical field will be quite familiar with these two terminology. Oops, go back there. Now, when a pharmaceutical company comes out with a new drug, they have to show us studies done against a placebo. What this means is that they get the patients with the condition that they want to work with, and they split them up into two groups. The one group gets the actual pill with the active ingredient, and the other group gets an empty capsule. It has no active ingredient in it. Now, the people participating in the study have no idea who's got the real pill and who's got the empty pill. They all were told that they have the actual pill. So the patients don't know that they have a placebo. Now, the results that come back are very, very interesting. In every study, you will see that those that had the empty capsule, the placebo, also had a little bit of relief from the belief that they are taking a capsule that has the active drug. Now, ladies and gents, this is really, really interesting information. Okay, so patients that take the drug and get relief is expected, but patients that have an empty capsule, take the drug and get relief is something we all need to look at. Now, something very interesting has come through from this placebo effect is that they found what is called the nocebo effect. Now, in the study, when they give these patients these pills, they also tell them the expected side effects. So the patients are aware of it. Because as you know, all the drugs on the market do come with side effects. Now, what's so interesting is that the patients that take the empty capsules also were showing some of the side effects. And so, you know, the people doing the experiment were so surprised. The doctors were surprised. How is it that they can take an empty capsule and have the side effect, a negative side effect of the pill? That's the power of the human mind. Ladies and gents, I want you to think for a second, what happened to your biochemistry when your doctor told you you have an incurable condition? There is no way you are getting back from this. What did those words do to our biochemistry? So I took these things into consideration and I started looking at, okay, how does the human body heal? What are we doing? Now, there are two survival systems in the human body. One is called the immune system that protects us from danger on the inside, and that's the immune system. And then we have a protection from the outside. That's called the fight, flight, freeze system. So if any danger on the outside, the body will release the right chemicals to protect us. We either need to fight or need to run. We make that calculation. All this activity happens in the brain. Our stress thoughts are conveyed to the brain, and the reptilian brain will make the decision whether we need to focus on healing on the inside or we need to stand up now and protect you from the outside. Now, very important, ladies and gents, both these cannot happen simultaneously in the human body. Both systems do not work together. There's either one or the other working at an optimum at any one time. So how does this actually happen? Now, the sympathetic nervous system is what governs our fight, flight, freeze system in the human body. And the parasympathetic nervous system is what is in charge of rest, digest, and heal in the human body. So what is so important about this is that both, like I said, both these systems cannot operate at the same time. It's antagonistic towards each other. Okay, why does this happen? In order to have a fight, flight, freeze response, the human body needs to build up a whole lot of energy in order for it to respond in this way. And in order for the parasympathetic nervous system to work, in order for it to heal, to rest, digest, it also requires a lot of energy. So the human body understands it cannot send the energy in both places at the same time. It doesn't have enough. So only one system works at a time. Ladies and gents, this is extremely important because when we are in fight, flight, or freeze, the parasympathetic nervous system, which is in charge of our healing, is at its lowest. So my aim was to reduce this system in my body. So I started to investigate this further. So when my body is producing a stress response, all of us are going through this, not just me. So whenever we signal our system that there is trouble on the outside, our body now gets ready to respond. So if there's real danger, you know, you're out there, you're facing danger in front of you, somebody's attacking you, you're facing a wild animal, your body needs to respond. So your heart rate will speed up, blood flow to the brain and muscles increases by 400%. Your digestion will stop because it's not important to digest your food because there's danger in front of you. Your immune system slows down, your muscles tense up because you might need to fight, you breathe faster, oxygen to the muscles. All this because you sent a message to your brain that something you're looking at right now feels very scary and you need to do something about it. Ladies and gents, this is something so important that I'd love for you to take away. This response can only happen if you have a thought that something scary, something bad is happening out there. This response cannot happen unless it is a thought first. So now all our negative thoughts set off our fight, flight, freeze response. So you have a telephone call and it's, you didn't enjoy that telephone call. It got you a bit angry, you got frustrated. That signals to your brain a fight, flight, freeze response. Your brain does not know that this response just came from a thought you had and there's no danger out there. Any negative emotion would set off your fight, flight, freeze response. So we need to think about our next thought in terms of our healing. So our thoughts are energy. Our thoughts are real and they have power. This is exciting information because we are in control of our thoughts. Lying in bed in fetal position, I still had control over my thoughts. I didn't have control over, how I move. I didn't have control of where I went, none of that. But I had control over my thoughts and I could do lots with it. I also started to work out, what are my negative thoughts shutting down? What effect is it having on my body? When I discovered that it was destroying all my happy chemicals. Now, these happy chemicals are neurotransmitters that our body needs to transmit information from one nerve cell to the other. So the happy chemicals, when serotonin, endorphins, dopamine, oxytocin are moving, these are messenger chemicals that are moving in our cells. The energy is alive, it is happy, you want to get going, you are creative. But in a diseased body, in an autoimmune, with a patient with autoimmune disease, these beautiful neurochemicals battle to enter our bloodstream. The serotonin is our confidence molecule. The endorphins are our natural painkillers in the body. Our dopamine is the reward molecule. It gives us go. The oxytocin is our bonding, the hugging, the closeness, our love molecule. These things were all depleted in the MS brain. Together with the fibromyalgia, the Hashimoto's, the rheumatoid arthritis, there's pain all over and none of these chemicals were being released. So I set up on a journey. What can I do to release these amazing molecules? Now, the thing about the human body is when you're in a sad space, these molecules do not enter. This sad phase is fight, flight, freeze. We need to attack, we need to run. When the human body goes into that space, these chemicals start this journey. Now, in terms of the allopathic medication, nothing was working for me. Okay, for those extreme headaches that I was having, I even had nerve blocks done. And this is anesthetic being injected into my head. I had relief for just 6 weeks from this. This was the most excruciating, painful injection I'd ever received in my life. The amount of Solumedrol I was taking, nothing was happening. Now, ladies and gents, I had all this information. I wanted to heal myself. This information was in my head. It was from all my studies. Yet it was lying there in fetal position, wondering, how on earth can I just, get going? I knew I needed to do this. Is there something that could help to just pick me out of here so I could start doing my Take Charge Wellness formula? And I found it in medicinal cannabis. Ladies and gents, taking medicinal cannabis was something that shook my world. My family started doing research and looking, when Dr. Sakur told me, Solumedrol's not working, Mala, I'm trying to find your disease-modifying drug. You reacted so badly to the entry-level, immunosuppressant that you took. We are working on it. In the meantime, you try your best. I told him what my thinking was, and my family started investigating the medicinal cannabis. I refused to take it, and as a response to get them off my back, I tried it. Ladies and gents, I had results within minutes. Today, I'm not going into this topic. It's a topic all on its own. I'd love to share this with you, but it is my Solumedrol. It's what it gave me the homeostasis. For me, it opened the door for my Take Charge Wellness formula to step in. So what is this Take Charge Wellness formula? The wellness formula states that wellness equals love, which is healing the heart, a change in food, because with the food, that's where our serotonin reaction starts. With the food, we take in our tryptophan, which is the precursor to serotonin. So there I've started to work on my happy neurochemicals. We need a change in thoughts, because the same level of thought that caused the problem, that caused the disease, cannot solve the problem. There has to be a shift in consciousness. And then we have A for activity, because the human body has to move. We are born to move. If we are not moving, ladies and gents, we are physically dying. Our cells are dying. And then there's a change in, we did change in thoughts, activity, discipline and motivation, D plus M. If there's no discipline and there's no motivation, it is extremely difficult to get out of a place where we are told we have incurable conditions. And then I discovered if we minus the triggers, I need to figure out everything that was harming my body and remove that. This equation works for every chronic disease out there. If you are facing, taking your meds and are still battling symptoms, I invite you to start looking within. And you say, where do I start? I invite you to take this formula. This is your base. And then you start working with each aspect with the book and see what you need to change to bring about your healing. Now, ladies and gents, the very difficult thing, when my doctor saw this Take Charge Wellness formula, he says, Mala, how on earth am I going to get this into a capsule? Now, that is a shift we all need to make. Ladies and gents, until we change our belief systems, our attitudes about our healing, we are going to suffer these symptoms. And there's no need to do that. We need to take charge. We need to realize that there is something we can do. Our thoughts, feelings, and belief systems are what's needed to open the pharmacy within. Now you will see, as we go along, that science has now proven to us that thoughts are not just something that we just think and send out there. Our thoughts actually trigger neuropeptides. Okay, like I said, the serotonin, the oxytocin, the dopamine, all of these are triggered just by our thoughts alone. Now, quantum physics is also teaching us the brain cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. For me, this was really exciting information, because the emotions we can associate with the image created in the mind is the real trigger. So for us just thinking about a negative scenario, we release chemicals as if the scenario is happening right here in front of us. So I took this information, I said, how can I change it to make it work for me? And then I discovered that these thoughts also create our emotions, and emotions are energy vibrations. Our thoughts create our emotions. And as you're listening to this, I invite you to just put your hand on your heart right now. I want you to just become in tune with that feeling inside you when you think about your heart. Your heart is the first organ that was formed in the womb. You are made out of love, ladies and gents. When your heart is pumping blood throughout your body, it is also pumping love throughout your body. You don't have to go out there and look for love. You are love. So I decided, okay, if the parasympathetic nervous system is what we need to activate, to, get our healing system going, then let's do it. Now, out of the 12 cranial nerves in the brain, 8 are associated with the sympathetic nervous system, and 4 of the cranial nerves belong to the parasympathetic nervous system. So you can see we are wired for drama. We are wired to look after ourselves. We are out there. We are wired to look out for danger out there. So the body very easily can get angry, can get upset. We have to make an effort to be in the positive. Okay, I decided to put a lot of effort onto these 4 cranial nerves. And the most important is the vagus nerve. It has a wide distribution throughout the body, and it's the vagus nerve that connects the gut to the heart. It's the gut to the brain, and it's the vagus nerve that connects the depths of the heart to the brain as well. So I decided, okay, how can I stimulate the vagus nerve? Ladies and gents, one of the most important and easy way to stimulate the vagus nerve is deep, intentful breathing. Now, in the book, A Flaming Challenge, I've got quite a few different breathing techniques that I've outlined. We're running out of time now, so I'm not going to do a breath with you, but it's something that is extremely potent. Something else that activated my vagus nerve, that initiated the healing, is gratitude therapy. I'm sure you are all very familiar with these pictures right now. They've been surfacing our internet for a while. These are studies done by Masaru Emoto, where he was able to show the words. He was able to do experiments where he exposed water to different sounds and words, and he was able to photograph it under an electron microscope. Ladies and gents, the human body is made up of almost 70% water. So our words affect the water within our body. The chemical reactions happening within our cells are either happening in the medium of water or happening using up the water. Now, the words thank you change the structure of the water to look like this. Okay, this is what the structure of a healthy cell looks like. And by just saying the words thank you, we change our cells to look like this. So I would lie in bed in fetal position, all curled up, tears rolling down my face, and I would start saying thank you. I'd be grateful for the things I could see, grateful for my bed, for my mother who brought me a meal. I'd look for things to be grateful for. And slowly, ladies and gents, I found myself straightening up in bed. I found myself sitting up just from saying thank you. Changing food is another big one. I don't have time to go through this, and I'd love you to look at how the effort I put into healing the gut. Healing the gut is a very, very important aspect when it comes to chronic disease, not just autoimmune disease, for all chronic disease. If you want to get that serotonin flowing, I invite you to look at your microbiome and see what you can do to improve that serotonin release. Now, when it comes to autoimmune disease, and I put a lot of effort into changing the way we look at food, because the food we eat becomes our body. In terms of MS, our immune system is being accused of mistaken identity. Our immune system is only doing its job. We have neglected ourselves. We have destroyed our microbiome. We have destroyed our gut. And our gut is now leaking molecules into our cells. All our immune system is doing is trying to attack all these foreign proteins out there. Now, as human beings, when we eat meat or we have anything from animals, we share similarities because we are all mammals. So when our immune system, when it's attacking these foreign milk particles, for example, it's also attacking our myelin sheath. And this is a topic for another day. Now, ladies and gents, I know we're running out of time, but I'm loving this work. It is so exciting. Mark, is it fine if I go on?
Yeah, yes, definitely. Keep going. I'm interested.
Okay, cool. Our thoughts create our emotions, right? Now, what's very important here is that our brain cannot be happy and sad at the same time. It is not possible. And I loved this information. So we can put on, a happy face, but it's the feeling inside. The body knows it. So if the body and brain, the mind cannot be both happy and sad at the same time, I took this information. I said, okay, what if I took my thoughts and only created a happy space inside my brain? What is going to happen there? So I said, okay, can I now teach my mind to visualize a happy space? I wanted to release the serotonin, the endorphins. And I said, okay, what if I imagine that I am dancing? I love to dance. So I'm lying in fetal position on the bed right now. And I am, in my mind, I am dancing because I always loved to dance. And I said, okay, let me dance to just tell my mind I'm feeling happy. So I decided, okay, let me do some ballroom dancing. Now, I'd never done ballroom dancing, but in my mind, I decided, okay, I think it will be lovely. I actually saw myself dancing, you know, holding my partner. It wasn't a picture of myself out there. I was actually dancing. Now, the brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. Now, ladies and gents, I didn't imagine this for just 5 minutes. I did this for hours. I had nothing else to do. I'm lying in bed in fetal position. I visualized myself on the dance floor. I heard the music. I made it very, very real. I would do this for about 2 hours at a time, 3-4 times a day. I had nothing else to do. And I loved it. I started enjoying doing it. And for me, it was the most beautiful experience because I was in my mind and I was doing something beautiful. Now, I was just visualizing it to my dance move, for my body to release serotonin, to get a happy picture in my mind. And something quite miraculous happened from this visualization. About, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks of doing this, my husband comes home and says he read an article today that says activity in an MS patient is incredibly important. And in particular, dancing was the recommended movement because in dance, we are learning new steps. So we are forcing the brain to now learn something new. The brain is completely compromised. The immune system is attacking that myelin sheath. And here my husband tells me, I'm going to take you for dance lessons. And I'm like, Rojan, I can barely walk. He says, no, I'm going to carry you. I found a dance school. It's called Ben's Dance Studio. It is down the road, Mala, and we got to do this. I love to dance. And I said, okay, we got to try. Mark, on the way there, all my mantra was, please hold me tight. Please don't let me fall. Because I knew how unsteady I was. And we got to the dance class and, you know, it was all strangers there. I was really terrified. And Roger said, no, we got to do this. And as soon as I did one turn in the dance, it was way too much for me. You know, Roger caught me and I said, I've got to sit down. The instructor came flying to us, what's wrong? You know, and we explained to him that I have MS and I really want to dance. He says, okay, Mala, let's do this. Please stay with me. We can do this together. And he changed the choreography. He had special steps made just for me. Now, ladies and gents, moving activity is a very, very important part of the healing process for the human body. Okay, we are designed to move. And for me, this dance just didn't bring in, you know, the serotonin, the endorphins. For me, it was an oxytocin release as well. I had an opportunity to hold my partner. And for me, it really was the most beautiful thing. And now I want to just give you a little taste of what we got up to in the dance lesson. This was done in 2018. This clip was in 2018. We're dancing for about 11 months now. Our dance lessons were very, very, we're real baby steps.
5, 6, 7, 8, and slow. Cha, cha, slow, slow, then slow, and slow, and quick, quick, slow, then slow, slow, quick, slow, and slow, slow, quick, back, that's it, quick, slow, 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 quick.
Yeah, that was a little bit of Argentine tango there. And with that, Mark, we've come to the end of our presentation. Ladies and gents, from the wheelchair to the dance floor. Yes, it's possible. Here I'm dancing in Cappadocia. This was for my 50th birthday. I was so excited. I could move, I could dance again. And yes, the Take Charge Wellness Formula, making the incurable symptoms disappear. Ladies and gents, I hope I've inspired you tonight to take charge, that you can do something about the symptoms that you're battling with. There's so much one can do in terms of our thinking. And I invite you to have a look at the book and contact me if you need to know more information, but do something about it. Don't sit back. Let's not blame the pharmaceutical industry. Let's, become responsible for what we think, what we eat, and the actions we do. Thank you, Mark. Over to you.
Thank you, Mala. We do have quite a few questions here that I'd like to ask you that are coming in. The first question is, from Petra. Do you rent out your husband?
We can talk.
Okay.
Contact me. Okay.
Okay. Is the content of your slides in your book? That's a question from Susan.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And I elaborate on it. You will enjoy the book, Susan. There's a lot of scientific information. My information is backed up with scientific studies. So you will certainly enjoy that.
Great.
There's 169 references in there, Mark. So, yeah.
Okay. Great. Thank you. So the next question from Brenda. Can one take cannabis treatment with biologics and methotrexate as well as antidepressant stress? I hope you know what I'm talking about because I don't. Or do you have to come off the conventional medicines first?
Mark, that's a very, very good question. And I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by a medical team. I've got my pharmacist right here. So he was able to wean me off. Working with cannabis for an MS patient, you need some professional guidance, that's for sure. You need to speak to your doctor. Yes, cannabis is a potent molecule and it works. But I've done a lot of research on the molecule before it entered my body. Once I started using it, I am blown away with the results, Mark. There's nothing on the planet that helped me the way the cannabis worked, the speed at which it worked. It's incredible. And definitely, it's not something where everybody stops their meds and goes on to cannabis. You have to work with your doctor. You have to work with your medical practitioner. And yes, it is an option.
Okay, great. I'm just launching a poll there to see if people are interested in finding out more about that. Okay, the next question is, could that help with addiction? And tied in with that, could it help somebody with autism?
Yes, it definitely can help with addiction and it will help with autism as well. Absolutely.
Great, thanks. So then I'm just going to shift to, are you taking any other medications for MS? Have you come off your medications at all? And there are a few questions around that subject.
Okay. Regarding medication, I'm on absolutely no allopathic medication at the moment, no DMGs, no immunosuppressants at all. It did not work for me, Mark. There are lots of people that are using it and it works for them, but in my case, it did not work. So when I was diagnosed with secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, nothing was working at that point. I had stopped everything, and that's when we started with the cannabis. And I altered the Take Charge Wellness Formula. I worked with both together because just using the cannabis is not enough. We are triggering ourselves with our thoughts, our negative thoughts, and the food that we are putting into our body. So I worked with everything together, and that's what brought relief.
Great, thank you. Somebody is asking how many drops of CBD is the maximum per day?
Mark, that is not the way cannabis works. It's not the way it is done. It is quite an involved process. There's no one remedy fits all kind of thing. It's every body responds differently. In the way my body will react to the molecule is different compared to somebody else. So it's an individual thing. And that's what makes it so difficult right now with the doctors working with it. You know, it needs proper counseling, and it works. You know, so it's left up to the patient to do the research. There's a lot of information online right now, Mark. We need to really do the work, contact people who are familiar with this kind of treatment and work with that. It's not something we should experiment on our own at home, Mark. I wouldn't advise it.
Okay. Is there a section in your book about the foods and the diets? Because you say changing the diet's an important thing. Do you go into that in your book?
Yes, I do. I've got lots of details. The book, I put a lot of effort in what not to do. You know, I left it to the patient, to the reader, to see what they like, because I've been vegetarian all my life. I'm a vegan right now. So I'm not going to tell you about which fish to eat, for example. You know, I don't have that knowledge. So my book is everything I shared, what didn't work for me. So the patients can now look at these things and work from there. You know, I'm gluten-free, I'm vegan, and yeah, there's lots of things I did with my diet. I changed, but all this information is in the book. I've detailed the Take Charge Wellness formula very nicely.
Okay. Ali wants to know, how did you establish your formula?
We started doing all the positive things. And when we started, I did a lot of writing throughout the process. You know, my doctor, when I used to go into the hospital, used to grab the diary, say, okay, let me see what you ate wrong. And he knew what I was doing, you know, because even though I was working on these things, I was still relapsing and ending up in the hospital because I wasn't doing all of it together, I must say. And right now, it's when we apply the entire wellness formula all the time. I must say, last year, working with the formula, I loved it. Around October, I started, you know, I had a reader who told me, now that you're well, Mala, do you need to be that strict with the formula? Can you just eat the right foods and is that enough? And that played in my mind. You know, I said, okay, maybe I don't need to be so strict because I didn't know that answer. That was it. And the book came out and it all happened so fast. And, you know, Mark, I started come beginning of this year with lockdown, and we had some life threw us some really challenging situations. And my system, I could see, wasn't the same anymore. My system started battling because I wasn't true to my formula. And so immediately I stopped everything. I went back to the formula, and now I'm in a good space again. So I've learned, if it ain't broken, don't fix it.
Now, we are getting a lot of questions about the medicinal cannabis, and I'm just going to share these results quickly from this poll. As you can see, 89% of the people are interested in finding out more about this. Let's do a few more questions about the medicinal cannabis. Do you know any practitioners we're getting this question for Gauteng and for Durban. Do you know anybody who can advise or assist or who people can consult with about medicinal cannabis?
Yes, I work with Mr. Trevor Parkinson. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and he came back from that. He's very knowledgeable with the product. You know, we had his products tested in the laboratory to make sure the extraction process was in a good form for my body. So we were very fussy about his products. We enjoyed it works well for me. I have 0 side effects from the cannabis that Trevor Parkinson's able to use, and he's able to isolate it and put it in a capsule and in a form that I can consume with ease. But we work with different strains. He works a lot with me because my body needs specific strains that he comes up with. But Mr. Trevor Parkinson is very, very knowledgeable on this, and people are welcome to send us an email if they're interested, and we'll give them his number.
Yeah, okay. So let's see if we can get those details out maybe via email about who they can connect with. So perhaps if you share that with me, I'll share it in the email tomorrow when we share the recording. Okay. Next question. Did the health industry retest you after you had recovered?
you know what, I need to go in and have an MRI done. But the results, when they come back, Mark, you know, if the lesions are there, it meant neuroplasticity happened. My body found a new pathway for me to walk. If the lesions are gone, it just means, you know, the body got rid of them. So it doesn't matter what it looks like inside. I have mobility, I have quality of life again. I can drive, I'm dancing, I'm a mother again, I'm a wife again. I'm back into my society. And that's what did for me. That I'm in that space.
Great, thank you. Now there's quite a few questions that I can't get to because we're just going to run out of time. But what I want to do is just share something here, because we do have quite a few questions about your book. And so I'm going to share that. This is what it's called, a flaming challenge. It is available on takealot.com if you're in South Africa. It is available on amazon.com if you're somewhere else in the world. And Mala, is the book also available in a Kindle edition?
Yes, it is. Amazon Kindle has it on. And
Okay.
Amazon Mac and in exclusive books and local bookstores in South Africa.
So it is widely available, and as you have probably gathered, it is well worth your while. So it sounds like there will be a lot of wisdom in there, and a lot of your questions will be answered by reading this book. And it certainly has piqued my interest. So I'm going to take a look at that. So Mala, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us this evening. I really hope we can get you back on the platform again in the future, because you certainly have a lot to share. And judging by the comments coming in, I think everybody has enjoyed what you've had to say tonight. So thank you very, very much for that. For the rest of you,
most welcome. Thank you for this opportunity.
For everybody else, as you probably heard at the beginning of the talk, we host talks every Wednesday evening in the fields of spirituality, healing, and personal development. Next week, we have Alex Marostica, who is a life and business coach, and she's doing a talk titled Awaken Your Inner Phoenix, Understanding the Physiology of Happiness. And she's going to be sharing some details about living a happier and more fulfilled life. So if you're interested in that, I highly recommend that you register for the talk next weekend. But other than that, Mala, thank you so much again for being here this evening. Thank you for all the effort that you've put in, and I look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Thank you so much, Mark, and to our audience. I really appreciate you giving me this time this evening, and I wish you all the best on your healing journey. Thank you.
Thank you.